Alright, so wanted to do a quick video to show you how to actually change the spring on a Huskavarna TC85. Was able to find some YouTube videos out there to show how to actually take the shock off the bike, but I didn't find any that showed how to actually change the spring. So we pulled it off of this TC85 here, got the shock in the vise, and then almost had a full Moto Dad meltdown because couldn't figure out how to get the shock off. Figured I was going to have to take some punches out of the man card and drive this thing down to the dealership, but then a buddy of mine talked me through it, and so I figured I would save everybody the hassle and the embarrassment of trying to figure that out. So we're going to do a quick video. Essentially, this is a 2019 TC85, same basic bike as this 2018 right here. The Shark, my cameraman, is our 13-year-old, so he's getting a little bit bigger. We had the 35 spring, so that's the one lighter spring on his bike. So we actually went with who made that thing? Excuse me, the Race Tech Progressive spring. To move him up, read a bunch that's a better spring to have on the bike. And then younger brother's picking up on this TC85 here. So it's got the stock 40 spring on there, so he's about 77 pounds. So we're going to go ahead and move him to that 35 spring. So go ahead and take the shock absorber off. Just in case you're wondering, it's two 13mm bolts. Show you real quick how this thing drops off. It's real fast. So basically, you've got a 13mm bolt up top, 13mm bolt on the bottom. You're gonna pull the bottom one off first, and then your top bolt. First thing you do is you just wanna pop your rear brake line there. Don't cut that thing to get it out of the way. It'd be a bad day for you. So. All right, so shock absorber off the bike. If you got a vise, it makes it pretty handy to be able to do this. So let's go ahead, flip this thing upside down in your vise. Loosen your lock ring. If you have the spanner wrench that came with your bike, or you can buy one, but definitely makes it easier to loosen everything up here. So you just want to go ahead and take the tension off. The guys that do this have said, kind of measure where you are here when you're taking your shock on and off. We can do that. I'm putting a heavier shock on, so a lighter shock on, so it's not necessarily going to be accurate for me, but I'm going to do just the test here. So got one joint of my finger is where that thing is. So once you get that loosened up, you can kind of spin it by hand, and all of this will go. Eventually your lock ring is going to hit your oil chamber here. So you need to kind of get this thing down about that far is good. So here's the trick, right? So it's got a ring here, you can see. Shark, if you zoom in up here. It's got this thing here, and you watch the other videos and they're like, yep, there's a some sort of a clip in here and you got to push it down, and I went all over this thing and I couldn't find it. So here is the trick. Look up here on the top of this thing. You can see a ring that's sitting around here. So here, the trick is this outside ring here, just kind of work it down. And if this hasn't been done in a while, you can see there's all sorts of dirt and crap in there. It's gonna stop it, but there you go. So that ring pops down, and you can see right here, there's is where it comes apart. This is actually a pretty easy ring. So like the other bike and even this one right there, I mean, I just popped that out with my fingers. I mean, I'm a Marine, so I have superhuman strength, but I'm sure some of you average men out there could also do it on your own. All right, so pop that ring off, put it over there with your bolts. In case you're a really crazy moto dad, it actually doesn't matter which side that ring goes on. Don't stress out about it. So then this is just gonna kind of come apart. We're gonna clean all this up so that it goes on and off. But so you can see it comes off. Flat part obviously down. You can see your groove for your ring in there. You're gonna go ahead and take off this piece. Looks like it's probably been 2019 since this shock was taken apart. All right, old shock comes off. In case you're wondering, how do you know what shock weight it is? Right there, it's your WP-40. So the one that I'm gonna put on there again, it's 35. It's because I got a lighter weight ripper that's gonna be on there. So. All right, so we kind of got everything cleaned up here. I'm gonna go ahead, again, 35 spring. I'm gonna go ahead and just reverse the steps. Put it back on there. Ring, top cap. Once everything's cleaned up, that just slid down super easy. We're gonna go ahead and put our lock ring back on there and then sort of reverse the process and start getting some tension back on here. One of the things is when you're putting tension on this spring, it's gonna wanna turn this. So you can kind of keep your hand up here to stop that from happening. But once you get it in the bike, you can still turn it and it'll line back up when you go to put it back together. So is that official knuckle finger test there? It's about where we were on the spring tension wise. I'll go ahead and go right there is where we were. So I'm gonna leave the lock ring off because we're gonna go ahead and put this thing back on the bike. It does say that these bolts take a little bit of Loctite. So we've got the blue Loctite here. Just gonna clean up our threads really quick. Also, make sure to look up the torque spec in your manual. It's like 44 point something foot-pounds. I've already got the torque wrench set from the last time that I did this. And if you're not working on these bikes with the torque wrench, you're a psycho. So don't be a psycho. Go buy a torque wrench. They're cheap. So there we go. A little bit of blue Loctite on those threads. Go ahead and pull this. Take our bolts. And then we're just going to reverse the process. Just got to work it around the pipe. So got the top there basically lined up. And before I tighten that down, I'm going to go ahead and work on the rear just so that it's got a little bit of wiggle room to get it where I need it to be. I'm actually going to leave the lock ring on this one loose because I'm about to bring my son out here and we're going to get the sag. But it's at this point where you go ahead and take your A measurement, put them on the bike with his gear, everything, bounce them up and down a few times, take your C measurement. We like to run between 100 and 105 millimeters of sag. Manual calls for 130. We don't want to be choppered out, so 100 to 105 works well for us. Anyway, so hopefully that will help you out if you ever get stuck trying to change out the spring on your TC85. Have a good one. Thanks.